At what age should I start an audio business? Realistically, you can start at any age, but the older you get, the more serious people will take you. For instance, let's say you're 16, you're a mixing and mastering engineer. Someone who's 40 is not going to order services from you, and that's just fact. And that is, honestly, that is fact. It's because, the majority of people will look at a 16-year-old doing mixing and mastering and going, well, what you got? A year's experience? You don't have any experience. I know what my mixes were like when I was 16. They were shocking. Looking back at them now, compared to now, and that's partly somewhat down to equipment and the development of plugins and things like that. But at 16, that's a very young age to be taken seriously. You could, for instance, you could do let's say for argument's sake, you're 16, you're doing these sorts of videos, question and answer stuff. A lot of people would look at you and be like, you have not even got the life skills to be answering these sorts of questions. And it will be very, very, very difficult to start business in audio at that sort of age. But there are avenues that you could work and start a business at that age, and believe me, there's no reason you shouldn't be. If you want to start a business at 16, by all means start a business at 16. Brilliant, all power to you. I would push you as far as possible if you wanted to start a business at 16. Just know that it will be difficult, and play the long game. You could start at 16, but you might not. It might take 16 years till the time you're 30 or 25 or, a little bit older, that you really start being taken seriously. Because generally speaking, people look up to people who are older, obviously, there's some sort of what would the word be, seniority, I think the word is. People are older, they've got more experience, people were more likely to listen to people that are older, whereas people who are older might not listen to people who are younger, and that's these sorts of things, they are kind of fact. So you can start at a young age, and great if you do, but you'll be playing the long game. Play the long game there. At what age should you be starting? Look, I started a business in audio when I think I was maybe 18, 19, and it didn't do great because I didn't have the kind of skill set and the ability to do what I can do now, but also I didn't have the business brain at that time to do what I wanted to do. Then that business, for instance, flopped at 19. I had another business that did all right at around 22, and then I think maybe 20, probably 26 when we started Audio Animals, and that was really good, and that went really well, and we were that little bit older that we could kind of be taken that little bit more seriously, and kind of establish ourselves as kind of engineers in the industry who are respected on the basis that you have a lot of experience. And there's we've done more work than most older engineers, and that's because of we work hard. But when you think of engineers, you always think of an engineer as being quite old. You think of 50-year-old engineers. Being I'm 36 now, and I consider myself as quite a young engineer with a wealth of experience and beautiful studios and a thriving business. So when it comes down to at what age should you start a business, there's no real answer to that. I don't think there's any real answer to that. But what you have to take into account is that at whatever point you start, you're going to have troubles because of age, right? So if you start later on, let's say for argument's sake, you start at 50, or let's say for argument's sake, you start at 40, you've got kids and a mortgage. You can't just go all out into this business, because you physically have to make sure you make money to pay the mortgage, bills, all these sorts of things for your family, and then you've got to look after your kids. You haven't got the time to put it 100% into the business. If you're in your 50s, you're thinking, well, I've only got 16, maybe 15 more years. If you're in your 50s, you've got 16 years left to do stuff before you retire, right? So I've only got 16 years, which is a fair amount of time. But then also your ears are starting to deteriorate. So there's all these little things that do take, that they do factor into this. I mean, I would say that I started my business, for instance, at 26, and I say that is the perfect age to start. And the reason I say that is because it's just old enough that you're not young, you're an adult. At the time, I didn't have any massive dependencies. At the time I didn't have family, I didn't have kids, so there wasn't anyone depending on me. I had my own kind of payments that had to be made, but I didn't have in any way, shape, or form the amount of financial things to pay for as I do now, for instance. So like that sort of age is a perfect age. And then even better, if you were to be living at home and not having to pay anything, that would be even better, because you can go full speed ahead with your business because you have nothing to pay for in terms of what a phone bill, a couple of a few bills every now and then. So you haven't got to make massive success of things right away. So I mean, at what age to be starting a business? You can start at any time. Start as young as possible, but just realize that you are going to have to prove yourself. If you're young, you're very much going to have to prove yourself. And it is in this sort of industry, I do feel like people, if you were young, you would really have to prove yourself. Because people won't take you as seriously. I see it all the time, right? Music producers who are young but really, really good at what they do, and the older lot, they'll laugh at them. And there's no reason to laugh at them. They're better than you most of the time, and that's partly down to what it is. They're really jealous that these 15-year-olds are better producers and more forward thinking in production than them. And that can play a massive factor in things. So yeah, I mean, there's. I hope that answers the question. But realistically, you can start a business at any time. But the later in life you are, the less time you have to do your business. But the more knowledge you have of business, the younger you are, the more time you're going to have to do your business. But the less knowledge you're going to have of your business and of your skill that you have.